We do the whole Joe Rogan. Hey,
Oh my
freak
God.
bitches.
Why are we always
Wait,
silent?
I don't know, because
It makes no sense why we have to be
a
silent.
positive thing to do.
It doesn't make any sense.
Because I actually composed a
In
song
5,
you can't hear.
4,
Just saying.
I know you
3.
can't hear the song, but it's there. Hey
Welcome
guys!
to Wayne's World.
You want to get sued, boy?
Yes.
Hey guys, welcome back again to Vanishing Gates. As always, I'm your host into the weird, the 40, and the strange, Jay. And with me, as always, are
The fortuitous Jack. I thought I'd go big, but not true.
the unfortunate Jack, and
Hey guys, Paco here.
with us tonight is Joe. What was it, you wanted to go to Sandwich Whisperer?
I'll be the Sandwich Whisperer, yes.
Sandwich. The
I was
sandwich.
awfully excited for a
Sandwich
slow
Whisperer.
build-up there.
Sandwich Whisperer.
So you guys hear us talk about our sponsors, and Dio's is our biggest sponsor right now. Because you go there, you get a discount on your sandwich. And well, that is the Sandwich Whisperer.
I was really hoping you'd say you don't.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
On air. Just be like, no, that's not true.
I'm like, oh yeah, that's right.
I always look at an asshole on air. I don't know what you're talking about.
That is
What do you
true.
mean on air? I thought you were just an asshole, period.
I mean, like, mostly.
Mostly.
You're not supposed to point that out.
Nice one, though. I mean,
Oh,
like,
that was supposed to be kept on the down low? My
on the
apologies.
DL?
Yeah.
Good job.
Yeah, my bad.
My
bad.
jerkness.
Good job.
So, you want to do Cigar of the Show there, Paco?
Yeah, sure. Totally gonna mispronounce this thing. But it is a
Well, you got me too, man. Jesus.
Cosachero. And
Who's the asshole now?
Cosa muchacho.
yeah, it's a
Cosachero.
I have no
Yeah,
idea.
Cosachero.
Cosachero
I just
Maduro.
had to-
whatever
my
it
rap
is.
earlier.
It's a good.
Sons of
Somebody's
bitches.
got.
It's
be
a good
cultured
cigar.
one in the group, obviously.
It
really like
be
it.
It's
me.
ironic when I
It should
can't read.
not be me.
I actually took a test this week to see how intelligent and what my comprehension for reading was, and apparently I am in the highest category. I cannot spell worth shit. I'm going to be placed in the highest English class possible for college, but my spelling looks roughly 5 years old, and my punctuation doesn't exist. They're going to be sitting there like, how the hell did you get in this room?
I feel like my dog is trying to get into my garage right now.
Let's see. Let's hope. I'm not going to...
It's either that or it's aliens.
I'm going to open it.
Must be aliens.
It has to be aliens. Yeah, we do live in Bigfoot country though.
Zoltan.
Your dog is indeed trying to
Will
get
you
in.
will you please put socks back into
Socks.
the yard?
My socks.
So the dog is broken into the studio, and Jack is putting the dog away because that's the kind of professionalism you guys have come to expect from
Yeah.
Vanishing Gates.
Absolutely.
And guys, don't forget to like, follow, share, subscribe, and tell everybody about us.
That is right. That is right.
Share this stream right now.
Share it. Like it. Share
Or
it.
the
Love it.
terrorists win.
Wow it.
It's a thing.
If you guys got your own personal stories that you guys want to go ahead and share with us, you can email us at vanishinggates@gmail.com, and that is with 2 G's at Vanishing Gates. And for those of you that watch us on YouTube, tell your friends to be able to click the little bell button.
Whoa, did you just take my plug?
Yeah,
You
I
did.
How
You
the
did.
fuck dare you?
you dealt
Hey,
with a dog,
hey,
bro.
watch your freaking language.
Dickhead. That's my word of the week, by the way.
It's got really aggressive really fast.
So my
guys.
insult of the week, I'm
Can we
bringing it
bring it
back.
back?
We're gonna use
Can we bring it
dickhead.
back? Can we bring it back just a little bit?
We're bringing back dickhead this week. This will be the insult of the week. Think about it.
We're bringing it back.
Where did it go?
I don't think it was ever even here, really.
Did you misplace it?
When was the last time you heard someone say dickhead?
I said that yesterday at least.
Don't be a
Maybe the
dickhead.
next
Hey,
twice.
hey, cockwaffle, shut up.
No. Dickhead.
And that's how we got demonetized. At least we didn't eat Tide Pods.
Nice that my You know
No,
what?
there's
Chad,
popcorn all over the ceilings, didn't you know?
Chad, you love me and you know it. Don't even try me.
My favorite one of those is silly kids. Don't they know that milk chocolate comes out of your cars?
I think this.
You know, that was
I'm
the
gonna
best.
address chat right now at Damien because he needs to know that he can't be as good as me at Call of Duty, and that's why he's angry. Okay.
Okay, saying you're good at Call of Duty is like saying you have better hacks and cheats than everybody else. It's like saying you're a senator. It's not the same thing.
You know what? You know what?
I'm a damn good
Fuck you.
philanderer.
I am so good at stealing. That's it. Yeah.
Good shit.
I can steal money better than anyone else. That's why I'm poor.
Oh goodness.
Oh man.
Hey, so with all of this talk and
Yes.
everything, I'm actually quite curious. Do we still have sponsors?
No.
I'll tell you what.
All of them saw the last show and were like, fuck this.
I'll tell you what. One guy really, really likes to make really cool stuff, and it's coming upon that season of miracles.
Again, really, huh?
We are that close.
Upon the season of
We
miracles.
are that close.
We're really close. Only like 300
Less than
and something.
300. No,
Less
we're
than
like
300 days to
250
Halloween,
days
everyone.
away from the season, the miraculous day of Halloween.
It is right around the corner.
And if you have someone in your life that likes to have really good freaky art up or likes to scare the shit out of people with beautiful things, you guys need to check out Cotton Studios on Facebook.
He has a problem
Check
with
out
Halloween.
Jason Glenn's work.
It's an obsession, really.
It's not an obsession.
It's an obsession.
It's an addiction more than anything else.
It's both.
I don't know what you guys are talking
It's
about.
both.
This is normal.
I mean,
Cotton Studios
Everybody
on
has-
Facebook. Check
yes.
out Jason Glenn's work. Tell him Vanishing Gates sent you.
we are seeking mental help for Jay here.
Oh,
With
no
us.
one's
Swear.
qualified. No one's qualified for that.
You gotta have it to lose it, man.
Yeah, exactly. Right? I've been saying that for years. Why does
If
no
I can go
one
to
get
school and
that?
become a lawyer or a psychologist, you can be sane. Don't you worry.
Didn't think so. Anyway, so now, no one got the joke there. No,
I
no,
did.
can't.
I thought it was stupid, so I was
No,
like,
it
no.
was. It was.
Was that a
no,
wah moment there?
There was not. It was.
Went right into
one
the bridge.
die.
Yeah,
Son of a
I'm pretty sure the
bitch.
crickets
That
were
just
really
fell
loud in the
straight
background.
forward.
Aw.
Do we still have our
Collapsed.
soundboard? Crickets playing.
You just murdered
Yeah,
a clown.
no.
Congratulations. Every time you tell a bad joke, a clown dies.
Wow.
They're meant to be dead, though.
Wow,
But-
that's
true.
That's hard.
They
You
are
know what?
evil.
When I kill a bad joke, the clowns get encased in gold. It's like a medal. It's a trophy of honor.
No, so you just killed another one.
More medal and trophies of honor.
You're worse than someone who complains because they can't carry a flag. That was topical.
No, it wasn't. So,
Skip?
Never mind.
if you need business cards made, you should check out ProPrismDesign.com. Tell them Vanishing Gates sent you.
Or don't.
Just don't tell them about this conversation. All right, so we're mulling about topics for the night. And
Come on, I kind of feel like we have one more sponsor.
Who dat?
This fabulous sandwich shop that we have here locally.
I thought we did that already.
Don't we have a place to design stuff?
I
I don't think so. It'd be really rude to be able to leave out this one
I
particular
thought we did
sponsor
already.
because I've been trying. I know the guy personally who owns Dio's, but I've been
I've met
hassling
him.
I've
Those
been
are
hassling
Dio's.
him for free sandwiches. He just won't do it though. I don't understand. I
I
don't
don't
get it.
remember. I don't remember free sandwiches being there.
No. Is that
No.
someone made up?
Great
I think
guy,
you did.
really.
It's an exchange for.
Isn't he really great?
I mean, unless you have really good saliva, maybe. But I mean, I wouldn't approach that way.
What?
Paco, I know you're
I think-
aggressive. And
I think he
nature,
could do
but
better. I think the guy.
Monies.
I think the nice
Oh,
man who
oh,
owns Dio's
man.
could probably do better than that.
Yeah.
Eat sandwich.
Well, we got this wonderful sandwich shop named Dio's Sandwiches, and a little bit of history with Dio's is it was a really good sandwich shop, and then it went away for a little bit, and then
I got sad real quick.
I truly did.
That was like
I truly
a
did.
sad
I truly did. Because I moved to this area.
It's not
But then
supposed to
it
be an
resurrected
insult
into a more messianic
Yeah,
sandwich
yeah.
I
shop.
found this sandwich shop after
You can't even make a compliment
3.5
sandwich, okay?
3.5 years of being here, and I was like, oh my god, these sandwiches are amazing, and I was there like every week just eating sandwiches, and
I bet the person who owns that shop doesn't even know what you look like.
yeah, probably not. And then I think like it was just like after a few months of eating there, I got the news that they were going to be closing down. They were shutting up shop, and I was so heartbroken, and I had to go home. I cried,
He masturbated into a sock.
and then like a couple months later, we find out what's going to happen. Dio's is coming back to Eureka, baby. And I got excited again. Depression fell off of my shoulders, and instead of drinking just straight beer, I switched over to hard liquor
To celebrate.
Exactly.
celebrate.
Exactly.
These
He
tears
stopped
of
cutting
joy.
himself.
Yeah, exactly.
Totally dope. Oh,
And
wow.
so now we have this
This
wonderful
got dark
shop.
again really quickly.
we have this wonderful sandwich shop named Dio's. It's over there in the Henderson Center off of Grotto Street Drive.
I feel like your
Boulevard.
plugs really
It's one of
suck.
those.
Sure.
Don't quote me on that.
829 Grotto.
Don't
Come
don't-
on, bro.
Don't
We
quote
should
me
ask
on
our
that. All right?
guest. What do you know about Dio Sandwich Shop?
What do you know about this? Well, it doesn't cause you to cut yourself. I'll tell you that right now.
And
Come on, Paco.
They're
You're
amazing
killing me.
sandwiches. The amazing sandwich is back, and it's thanks to this wonderful man right here, Joe.
Wonderful, man.
I just blew smoke
Thank
in
you
my
for
eye.
opening
That
up
was
Dio's
uncomfortable.
Cheers.
once again.
Okay.
Cheers. It's a legacy that one cannot ever get rid of.
This
That
is so
would be-
true.
There would be pitchforks and riots in
Absolutely.
Grotto Way.
Grotto Way. Grotto Way. You heard it
The
from
whole
this guy.
time you were
You
plugging
heard
that
it
shit
first
wrong.
from this guy.
It's a way.
It's
now.
a way.
It's a way of life.
It's a way.
The Grotto way of
The
life.
Grotto, the Grotto Way. The Grotto Way.
Do you ever think of moving into the failing mall? You two could be part of the legacy of having to leave because it's too expensive.
Oh, God.
Honestly, no.
You know, I am quite curious
That
though.
sounds like a good business move.
Before Dio's did shut down originally, they were doing deliveries. Is that something that you're gonna be getting back into, or
Are you
Dio's?
gonna deliver Chicago?
Dio's
Do you have a car?
Are you interested? Are you interested in delivery?
You know, I'll deliver for weekends for you.
You're not going to charge him gas, right? That's a killer. You get paid tips.
Oh my god.
You guys do realize most of our viewers aren't in Humboldt County, right?
No, this is actually a personal question. I mean, like, you know, am I gonna be able to? Do I have to get up off of my bed and go get a sandwich over the weekend?
You know what they walk out? Not
Do I
only
have to put pants on over my underwear?
Not only are they going to deliver
You know,
sandwiches.
I get Mexican food delivered to me in the bed with the 6-pack of beer. I'm just wondering if I can get my sandwich too.
Not only will they do that, but they're going to give you a massage, turn on your TV to your favorite channel, give you the controller, and leave. They might even
Oh
give you a
my
sponge
God,
bath,
dude.
depending on how much you tip.
It's,
No, guys, though, if you go into the shop, they'll give you food.
it's incremental.
If you pay. If you pay, they'll give you food.
That's on my 1, 3, and 5 year plan for sure.
So, hold on. So let's just clarify here. The only requirement to have food at Dio's is money.
That is correct.
My goodness, my
That's the
goodness.
important step that
Or
you
a
must
loaded
take.
handgun.
Don't take that advice.
Don't do that.
Don't
We do.
Don't do that.
When you come in with the
They
money,
will
we
kill
do
you.
prefer you having
Don't do
clothes
that.
on.
Everybody
Don't
there
do that.
packs.
I was just gonna say it's a
Everyone.
it's a
has
firearm
guns.
safe
It's
zone.
Texas.
It's safe.
It's not a free
My
zone.
safety pin shoots back. You know.
It's not one of those places where Jay wouldn't be. It's, oh, you probably have a gun. What's going on? Yeah, kind of my joint there.
What,
All right.
Yeah.
We are pro Second Amendment here in this show.
No, we're not.
Yes, we are.
Fuck yeah, we are, dog. We go on a Bigfoot expedition. Hell yeah, we are.
No. That was a lie to make sure that people come at us, bro.
I don't want people to come at us. There's no point in having a pew pew pew.
It's good
All right.
old.
Wait, is
American
Idaho pro
fun right
Second
there.
Amendment?
What?
Is Idaho pro Second Amendment?
Oh, super.
Because I want a gun there.
Super pro. Anyway,
I'm moving to Idaho.
also pro
Okay,
potato.
I was like, damn.
I'm moving to Idaho eventually. I'm Irish. I'm going back to where the potatoes are. It's like home. You know, I got to get back to the potatoes.
That is.
I mean, wouldn't you want to, like, if you're Irish,
that
you want to go
culturally
home? Wouldn't
insensitive?
that be like Ireland?
That's just me.
I believe that de-escalated quickly.
Yeah.
You know what? Shut up.
Here's from Xbox to PlayStation that fast.
No.
Whoa,
fast.
whoa,
Don't
whoa,
ever,
whoa,
ever
whoa.
compare Xbox above PlayStation again. You
Exactly.
Yeah,
You are a
high
horrible,
knowledge, big
horrible
brain.
human
Only your
being.
system could get Blu-ray right. Anyway, so
If only
we
your
are
system
going to
didn't
talk
have
about.
most of PlayStation
We do
systems
have
in
a
it.
topic tonight.
Only if yours could actually play video games.
If only your guys could actually use their own systems and didn't have to borrow from PlayStation every year.
You PlayStation guys are still like making the same Scientology conversations. What we're talking about tonight.
The art of
So,
science.
apparently, and I didn't know this till today, because you messaged me like 2 days ago, I think, but I was sick with the flu a couple days ago, that there's actually a Scientology compound in Petrolia. Which, viewers, if you guys don't know where we live, there's a place called Petrolia not far from where I live.
So what you're
it's,
saying is, hold on. What you're saying is, we're about to piss off a
Okay.
bunch of psychopaths who live less than a few hours away from us and could probably kill us because they have a lot of money.
Yes.
Well, no, I wouldn't have said it that way because you're an asshole.
Oh, okay.
Good news, it's
Dickhead.
already common knowledge. We're not the first people to talk
Even
about
Is
it.
that kind of
Tom
like common knowledge that
Cruise,
there's a
Leo
nuclear
Renee is
silo off
leaving.
of Fortuna?
I mean,
Or off of Ferndale?
Yeah, the old Navy base.
Is it still active from what I hear?
Nah,
no.
Different
it-
show.
it-
It's still
hold on.
active.
Different show.
David Shaw.
Fine. No one brings me
Centerville-
back to
Centerville-
Nobody
Well,
wants to talk
you
what
gotta-
I want to talk about.
I only have shit with different topics.
Jack, shut the fuck up.
I'm gonna
We're
put
the
this out
guest.
eye, you prostitute.
Different time, different place, man.
All right, so
I told my cigar out.
now
It's okay.
we're talking about Petrolia,
Thank you.
and then you're talking about Centerville. So apparently,
Different zones.
yes, very
That's
different
all.
zones.
That's all.
Now,
Geographically speaking.
yes, very different.
Mhm.
Now, people get Centerville confused with Petrolia, which is preposterous because Centerville is on the coast, directly off of Ferndale.
Okay, I'm gonna say this.
Petrolia is off the Wildcat, which does
So-
hit the coast, comes back inland for a while.
I'm gonna say this for all the guests and the viewers. I live in this place, and I have for 26
And you have no idea
years.
what we're talking about.
I have
Yeah, I
no
was just
fucking
gonna say,
clue where
yeah.
any of this stuff is.
That's what I was trying to
couldn't
explain.
explain it to you.
I didn't tell Jay started doing all
The
of his
fact
hand
that you know
motions and
this,
everything.
I'm
As soon as he- now I know
Yes.
exactly where it's at.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, Jay.
Exactly.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
See, that's why it's important to do this. So the Centerville Beach thing was a naval compound. We're talking about Petrolia, which is a different place altogether, guys.
All right, let's get to the petroleum. Let's do this.
Which is how it got its name.
It should.
It was one of the
True
first
that.
places. It's one of the first places that
Petroleum oil.
Are
that
you
petroleum oil
fucking
was
kidding
discovered
me?
in California,
Yes.
and it came out too.
No.
What the fuck? It came out too pure, something like that.
It-
Anyways, it was hard to refine.
It was hard to refine.
There you go.
Yeah.
At the time.
Well, even Humboldt Bay right here outside of Eureka, their same thing happened. There's deposits of petroleum, and it wasn't, you weren't able to do it. That's why Renner had the big tanks out there by the mall.
Can I drill
That
there?
was full of,
Yes, yes, right now.
I drill there all
Right
the
now.
time.
all, just drill
all
down,
the time.
drill into it.
I think he's talking about other drilling.
Highbrow, lowbrow, all brow.
Eyebrow, low brow everywhere. Bridget, what's
we
up?
don't brow discriminate here,
That was a little
bro.
bit late. I saw your comment like a month ago. Sorry. Okay, so we're talking about petroleum, and what is it? The compound for Scientology, which is the single most insane thing I've ever fucking heard in my life. But let's do it.
Segway. That was
I'm pretty sure it's
I
not.
want to see him on a Segway. Where he rolls over and flips somehow.
Speaking of the mall.
You know what? I'm not security. I can get on a Segway.
Security!
You'll never see me on a Segway, okay? And
Jack
that's not
Clark.
because I exceed the weight limit by about 100 fucking pounds. Okay? That's not.
I'd rather see him on
Mikey,
like one of those.
I would totally ride a
hoverboards
Segway.
than a Segway. You know, I think the hoverboard would be.
Do
a
you
lot
think
more
if I
fun.
can't ride a Segway, that I could ride a fucking hoverboard?
I'm not saying that. You know, I'm just
Go
saying.
from the big fucking thing to the
Mhm.
little dinky
Yeah,
thing.
I
and
think it'd be great to see.
that would go well all the time, every time.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so there's a Scientology thing in Petrolia.
Oh yeah, we were talking about that. Let's
Yeah.
Let's get back to that.
I gotta make sure my volume's off. Sorry.
So, viewers, if you're not from around here, which most of you aren't, Petrolia is an area, a place not too far from here where I live, but you have to go through a really long drive. If you go from my direction, it's called the Wildcat, and you actually go through a mountain pass and some farmland and shit down for a beautiful, scenic ocean drive, but also not stable. Now, if you go a little bit south of here, you go through a big, a grove. I guess it's a good word to say, like
Sure.
we're through the redwoods. It's still not safe to drive,
No.
but you can still get there.
Do you
It's
have to go through the naval base?
far removed from people.
Oh.
It's like 30, 40 minutes out, regardless of how you go, on the fastest route you can get there if the weather's nice. So it's out there, and there's a lot of wilderness around it. So Petrolia is it's a beautiful place, but I mean, it's mostly known for dope growing.
For dope growing.
You know what though?
Definitely
sounds like a-
dope
Which
growing.
is
Sounds like a
now
beautiful
legal
place.
in California, so...
What's up, Bridget? This is Joe. I'm really poor with names. This is Joe. He's the owner of Dio Sandwiches, one of
poor
our
with names.
amazing sponsors. He makes the best sandwiches in town, unless you enjoy a factory line of nastiness. You know, don't worry about it. There's more flies than meat if you go to that certain other place. I can guarantee. No, not Gio's. The other place.
The other place.
Which everybody would know as a factory. Anywho, so with Petrolia, it doesn't actually shock me. And the reason for that is because Scientologists are people who believe the world is essentially going to end, that war is going to happen. In Humboldt County, if you don't know, a lot of you won't know the topology, you won't know this place. There are 3 roads in and out.
Correct.
And there is no fucking way to get in other than those roads, unless you come by the ocean. No, there's 4. There's 3. No, there are 3 roads.
There 5?
There are 3.
How is there 5?
In Humboldt County?
Crescent
From the
City,
outside.
Redding, and down towards Willits and Fort Bragg.
Okay,
Highway
so
36.
101,
36
299,
36.
36.
But
Yeah.
that you have to go over across Reading, don't you? To get to
You
36?
guys don't drive enough.
Red enough, but
Yeah.
no big deal. It's
the
it's limited access.
Yeah.
299
Okay,
puts you
so
to Reading.
we'll redo that. There are 3 roads that are feasible for like military movement,
Yes.
for troop movement, for real movements.
Correct.
If you were to like say need to lock down an area, this is the most defensible location in California. If you set up in this location, you'd have one of the only 2 natural harbors. You have a natural college. You have a college which has access to some of the worst biological chemicals in the world because of the campus. Yeah, the campus has access to horrible biological things.
No,
agents.
it's been moved.
Did they move it?
Yeah,
When did they move it?
a long time ago.
Oh, I thought that's why they had the satellite.
Okay, you're gonna go with the National Guard Armory, which has been
Yes,
disarmed.
National Guard
all
Armory.
that.
There's
Yeah.
a, there's a
And the
lot of things
chlorine
here.
tanks there that was
Oh,
talking
but
about earlier.
that's not what's important. What's important
emptied.
for land
We are no
capturing or
longer
lockdown.
worried about people.
Well, for
coming
natural
in.
lockdown is we have one of the few natural harbors that can take major ships. We have 3, like I said, few roads that are accessible through military access. If you placed anything like weaponry on mountains, you could stop any aircraft from coming in. The simple fact that you couldn't sneak up via the ocean. You'd have to come from a long way around,
That's not
and
true.
you'd never be able to get here.
No, the fog sets heavy.
Yeah, and that's another thing.
The
It's
green
flying
room.
here
Why
through
are
the
we
fog.
talking about like how to
Well,
attack Humboldt
Well,
County?
this is what I'm pointing out. There's a reason that I believe that they would set up here is because they're paranoid, and this would be easily defended. It'd be hard to get to them, and it'd be easy to stop anyone from getting.
I have a
through.
better idea of why they did this. Because Scientologists tend to have rich people in their fold who own property in weird places, and they use that property to build things in weird places.
You know what? Fuck you. I designed a whole thing there. And you just had to tear it down, didn't you?
I'm
Well,
sorry.
I will say that this we'll touch on this a little bit later on
We need
in the
to get
story.
into this. This is gonna
In
be
the
good.
story, but it
If we
is
ever get
it
to
is about remote location. And if you've ever seen the documentary Red Dawn, you know that
Yeah.
it is important to have limited access.
What is it, a documentary called Red Dawn?
Yeah, it stars
Tell us the
Patrick
movie Red
Swayze.
Dawn.
It's a great documentary.
And Charlie Sheen and
Oh,
that one chick from Dirty Dancing. Yeah. All that
National
shit.
documentaries. Oh, spoiler alert. We win in the end. Sorry.
Oh yeah.
Not the video game.
It's a good fucking movie.
The new one was fucking terrible. That
Oh,
original
God.
one though, that was fucking
The
terrible.
original was great. I love that movie.
Anyway, I think they give you that when you first move to Humboldt County. They give you the documentary Red Dawn, and then they give you a surfboard and a manual transmission Toyota. That's how you're like. And if you don't have a gun, then you get a surfboard. I don't
I
know.
looked at your president's mask and told you had something like that. Oh,
They're required things that you get here.
Yeah, it's true. You're supposed to have that in your safe. One of the 7 things.
Every day I get asked if I smoke, and every day I say no when I stun someone. Every day they're like, "What? How long have you lived here? My entire life? No."
Yeah, people ask me. Do you
I
smoke
like how
weed?
you
I'm
got
like,
that right in
no.
front of the heater. That's gonna taste delicious later.
No.
It's supposed to.
It's gonna be great.
These
Nice
are
and
fucked up.
warm.
Hey, you don't like warm artisan water?
The best artisan in the
The
water in the
Artesians have
world,
done this right.
except other stuff, which is better. Not point.
Now, as a guy who actually has a backup plan, there's 4 of us here.
I
How many
literally
of us
just
actually
laid
have
out
a
how I
dugout
would
bag?
take over a city and why I would live in it. I think my backup plan is far
Yep.
better.
Right,
Conquer the city and not hold it.
You know, and this also ties into the story, but everyone should have a plan, you know, B, C, Q, and F. for
Especially
sure.
plan B.
You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
A lot of you people out there should stop breeding. Plan B important.
Fuck.
All right.
You know,
I have an STHF.
You know, Idiocracy was
SHTF.
not a movie; it was a prophecy.
Yeah.
And,
Oh my God.
it's coming
Greatest
true.
prophecy
We've seen
ever.
It's coming true.
Poor Canada right now.
Oh my lord!
Poor
I really
everybody
want to
right
move
now.
to
Oh,
People
my
Toba.
Lord.
This world is moving down that train
Hey.
fast.
Hey.
Hey.
No, we do have a lot of Canadian viewers, guys, and we love you.
We love ya.
Take
We
my
ran-
name, my number, and
No.
be waiting at the border so that I can
Just Trudeau so much, not. You can watch some other
Hey,
show.
hey.
fancy lad. He's a fancy lad.
He's
Hey.
a fancy fella.
He's a
I would
fancy
never
lad.
have anyone else teach me how to skate.
Alright.
I would love to go skiing.
Was that a sexual reference?
No, he was a skiing instructor. That was a.
Was
that
he a
his-
skiing instructor?
That was his major verification. He was a skiing instructor.
I know he just wanted to change all the Canadian national anthem to be more like. Anyway, more politically correct. We're talking about Scientology though, because we have to reel it back and not
Get
be so
that backwards
offensive.
there.
Oh,
Good boys piss off
man.
2/3 of our viewers.
That's 25 people.
All 25 of you were sorry.
What sucks is like
But-
4 of those people are right here.
I know,
I
right?
know. Right?
Well, 3 of them.
Just to be clear, it's the first time I'm watching, so.
No wonder you're still a sponsor. After today, that won't be the same. Next week we're gonna show up. So
All right.
Joe's doesn't want to sponsor anymore. It's still great sandwiches though.
It's kind of you say I hate
All right.
Vanishing Gates.
Free soda or a bag of chips.
All right, so Petrolia. We were talking about how. I keep trying. I keep
Max.
fucking trying here.
Your segs are so good there, Jack.
All right, let's keep talking about other things, and then we'll get back to it eventually.
Oh, I gotta relight that.
So I said
I'm
because
really upset about this lighter.
Yes, one should be if it doesn't work.
It's irritating.
You switch that one. Yeah, clearly, you took that one out of your bug out bag.
I'm gonna have to tell everyone I am currently addicted to cigars.
I have flints in my bug out bag.
I was talking about like earlier. Just like 2 days ago. I was talking about how I can't smoke anymore because I wanted to play football, and I'm smoking.
I can play football. I still smoke cigars. I don't know about you.
My problem is
I'm
I'm
gonna
really
bust a
fat and
knee
I have
to play
bad
football.
cardigan.
I was gonna say you can play football.
I wanna play football. Turns out they don't want fat, out of shape dudes in their team. I don't get it. It's
What?
weird. Yeah, right?
Yeah, that's super.
really
that's
weird.
super wrong.
It's terrible.
Super wrong.
Just
We should-
because
we should
after
start
one
a
play, I'll be
campaign on the
standing like
internet for that.
first play. I'll just be like
Hashtag
puffing and
let
dying.
fat guys ball.
He's not a football player. He crushes a lot. So back to the
All right,
back to the
Scientology,
subject.
the
Back to
meat
the
of the
subject.
subject.
We'll get
So
back.
Petrolia has a compound for Scientology. So what's going on in this compound of Petrolia? I didn't even know it existed. Now, guys, if you don't know what Scientology is, it's amazing.
You look it up.
You only need to look up South Park's explanation.
So a science fiction. No, this is how crazy Scientology is. A science fiction author back in the fucking 50s was able to write a bunch of stuff, convince people to infiltrate the government, the FBI, freaking.
Wait, now you're sounding crazy.
No, this is fact.
This is actually
recorded.
real?
Yes, there was trials over this. His wife was part of it. Eleanor Hubbard's wife was part of it. She actually got indicted for it. They infiltrated the FBI.
Thanks, Bridget, in chat.
What? Oh,
Jack is not fat. He's just cultivating mass.
He's prosperous.
That's true. I'm just waiting. It'll go.
did you lose weight? No, I'm just splitting it to the side. Just parting it to the side. But no,
Aaron loves Scientology. Damn it, Aaron.
but so L. Ron Hubbard actually had people infiltrating the IRS and the FBI and a bunch of other government agencies, local and federal. And it culminated in this huge lawsuit. And we know that they had people murdered, but somehow they still have a charter as a religion.
Yeah, right.
For
tax
tax
exemption.
Yeah.
So,
Never mind, David Miscavige's wife has been gone for what, like 7 years now?
so my question is, what the fuck? L. Ron
Oh,
Hubbard.
you have a
Scientology.
Oh, now you speak up about
Oh,
it.
now you got anything to say? No, Eleanor Hubbard's been
What
dead
a bunch
for a
of
long
dickheads.
time. Dude, David Miscavige, the guy that runs
Right.
fucking Scientology, his dad came out and apologized to the world basically for leading this guy into this shit. He's like, I'm sorry, I told my son about this because his wife is missing. Shelley, I think is her name. And Leah Remini came out because of that.
Yeah, right.
Because Shelley Miscavige just vanished.
Granted, none of us have a particularly personal connection.
Yeah,
to
no,
this, right?
none of us. No.
We haven't been. What's the term that they use?
What's a
Shun. It's not shun.
Not shun, but it's shun. But there's another
right.
one.
Disassociated.
No, there's like an angry a person of non.
Somebody else tell us this shit. They should.
Yeah, guys in chat, if you know the word looking for, when Scientology calls you a person that's against you, I had this written down.
Educate us, guys. Come on. Bring us the knowledge. Bridget, you're near their headquarters. What is it? What is it when someone leaves the society?
Yeah, what the fuck is that term? Okay.
Yeah, their shun is murder. But now that's not the only person though. If you look at fucking Gabriel Williams was a rapist. Donald Anthony Strawn was a rapist.
Well, that was a great segue there.
Well, no, it's a big deal because they were Scientologists.
You're a rapist.
These guys were high-end Scientologists that were convicted of it, but they paid the judges off and they got to vanish into thin air. Now, Paulette Cooper was not. She was someone that got tortured and tormented by Scientology and pushed away. And I think she actually committed suicide. I should have wrote better notes.
Okay, hold on. Bridget's intelligent, so she said something. They take them on cruises. Asterisk.
Well, okay,
torture,
so
kill followers in international waters.
Well, that's the Sea Org. Yeah, it's different because they have children join the Sea Org to join. That's what Leah Remini came in. And if you've never heard the term pedophile, you should probably look at Sea Org. It's probably in the same boat.
You know, I don't want to
me,
look at Sea Org nor the other thing, so.
I'm sorry. Someone that hurts kids, shoot them, kill them. I don't care anymore, dude.
Hey,
I don't give a fuck.
Give him a short trip with a quick stop.
Yeah, off a boat.
Needless to say, there's a tremendous depth of information out there that in the last decade or so has really come to light. And one of the things that you referenced was that was the case against them, and that was where a lot of their higher echelon shit got brought out because everything had to be talked about under oath.
Yes.
And then that's when we really started to find out about all the crap about the aliens.
Yeah, the alien thing.
So,
well, that stuff was actually out in public before, and people don't realize it.
But they didn't have any real. They didn't have any real proof that that was actually part.
What they believed.
Right, and then it got all brought out in the court case. But anyways.
So L. Ron Hubbard, like his writing as an author, like growing up in my household, we had all of L. Ron Hubbard's fantasy books on the wall.
So,
Mom had them.
if you're part of Scientology and you wish to take any of us for a cruise, Aria to J.
I'm down. Let's go to the Bahamas.
Now that we know you're a psychopathic organization,
you got like olive oil you can rub on my chest.
The rest of us,
of age.
We love you.
What's wrong with you? No, but no. Growing up, like we had all the L. Ron Hubbard books. My mom had the entire.
No way.
Yeah, fictional. Yeah, the whole series. Like the
Dianetics.
I prefer
no. His actual writings.
His
fictional stuff. His good stuff.
Science fiction.
Not his psychopathic stuff. So L. Ron
He's
Hubbard
a poor
wrote
man's H.P. Lovecraft.
No, he actually was an entertaining author. He wasn't great, but an entertaining author. Like when it comes to science fiction. Now, Battlefield Earth with John Travolta.
Hold on.
Exactly. See, that's what people say.
Wait
but
a minute.
The book was part of a series.
Hold on.
Well written to an extent.
I'm going to defend that goddamn book because that book was fucking awesome, dude.
I didn't say that. I said the movie was garbage.
Okay, so if
you've
you've seen that movie and you don't want to read the book because of the goddamn movie, read the book. It's excellent.
That goddamn movie.
Anyone involved in that movie?
The book. There's multiple books in the series. It's like 13 or 14.
I haven't. There's a series. I didn't know that.
Mom had them on a shelf, brother.
I didn't know it either.
Now I have to read it.
I read
love
them.
that first book, so now I have to find them so I can read them more.
So the books were good, but then he wrote, and so L. Ron Hubbard was a bit of a psychopath and wrote Dianetics. Yeah, because Dianetics was like a form of psychology he was coming with. Actually, if you read a lot of interviews, he said psychology was an evil thing.
Wait a minute, so are you telling me that H.P. Lovecraft was crazy? Would you also say that H.H. Holmes was a little crazy?
Hold on.
Let's point
As
out
an
the obvious. That's why I'm
architect,
the captain. I'm Captain Obvious.
as
right
an
now.
architect, he was probably on it. What do you mean, a little crazy? But as an architect,
That was right over your head. Let's keep going. I was referencing the obvious that he was fucking crazy, bro.
do you not know
He
who
started a
H.H. Holmes
religion.
was?
Yes, he's a fucking most prolific and first serial killer in the United States.
Who had a big hotel?
Yes, he created the hotel around
With
murder.
all the rooms.
With traps and different secret
And I said,
rooms,
as an
etc.
architect, and
I
you
caught
said it
that.
slipped over my head.
I caught that. But I wasn't
You didn't catch
referencing that.
Fuck.
Anyhow,
I'll come back in a few minutes.
Welcome to my side of it.
It's pretty much an argument where neither of us know where the other one's coming from, but that's where the arguments stem from.
I mean,
You know
Anyhow,
what? It
so-
probably went over my head. I'll give you that.
yeah. Woof.
Way to stick to it, man.
That's right. Fuck it.
He's got a nice little ski jump anyways going on right there. So.
Fucking
Hold
kill
your
you.
guns, bro. So,
No, fuck you.
I love you, but fuck you.
Tell me how you really feel.
I want to kill 90% of the people in this room.
Wow.
You're not right.
Yikes.
It's just like thumbs up. Thumbs up.
Anyhow, so L. Ron Hubbard, he's a psychopath, and he knew it, and he hated psychology, so he wrote this whole Dianetics thing. His career is failing, and so he thought he'd write a psychology book, because he hates psychology, and came up with Dianetics. And that transformed this entire other thing that he infused his science fiction writing into. And then, somehow, he was able to infiltrate the fucking FBI. Really?
I'm starting to concern myself here. I'm like 90% done with this cigar, and everybody else still has most of their cigar left.
I'm done.
You can have Pacos.
Thank you.
No. No, thank you.
Extra wet.
Oh, God.
The cigar. Just in
Welcome to
case
the
you
show,
didn't-
Aaron and Ann. All right, so Dianetics. Let's keep going.
Okay, well, okay, so yeah, this is all really common. This is all out in the common.
I think it's common knowledge.
Yeah.
It's in the air.
Right, it's in the
Yeah.
ethos now. I mean, it used to not be as well documented, but now there's several avenues. There's an excellent documentary on HBO, Going Clear, an excellent book by the same name, Leah Remini's show, which is it's highly entertaining. If you know, it's about as entertaining as Hoarders, especially if you don't have to deal with the mess. So it's terribly entertaining.
My wife is kind of a hoarder, so I don't like that
Okay, man.
show.
It's alright. It's okay, man. And so, yeah, all that shit, you just look it up on. It's so there's so much information now. There's one of the other fascinating things in Southern California, in the area of Murrieta. They talk about that compound where they kept everybody. Really interesting shit.
Do they not keep them there anymore? The lockdown place?
Right.
They just send them there and they stack them like...
Right.
Oh,
They do
God.
some wicked shit. It's one of my favorite things about watching Leah Remini's show is them talking about it. And the best thing is you can just go on Google Earth and see a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
Which is what's really fascinating. Well, I don't want to steal the segue. You want to start talking about that? That's fine. No big deal. Because
We'll move into that.
I am definitely not an authority, nor I think any of us are on Scientology.
No.
And we're just bullshitting and having a good time, hypothesizing about about some of that shit. But the compound, which is it's up here
in Petrolia. This is
It's
our
in
area.
Petrolia.
Though. This is our kind of thing.
And there's some really fascinating stuff. There was an interesting article that I printed out to do a little research on this, just to talk about it, but you've already talked about most of it, on one of our local news outlets. I won't say their name.
Oh, you can. It's fine.
Loco, Los Coast
Los Coast
Outpost,
Outpost, okay.
whatever it was on.
I'm sure Hank will appreciate the throw out.
Sometime September and 17, they wrote a
The
big
throw
thing
out?
on it.
That's ironic. That's what I do with the Loco. I'm sure it keeps many people warm at night.
God damn it, Jack! Stop it. So let's go over the article here.
Okay, so I mean the article, fine, whatever. I don't need to talk about it. It's right there. So much of the shit. I wanted to just talk about my personal experience.
Okay.
Of that place because like I said,
Were you actually out there?
I was indeed, and
for a job you did at some point or something like that. We won't go into detail.
In the year of our Lord 2007, AD, I was working for an unnamed.
Wait, which Lord?
Sin.
Their Lord. Their Lord.
I was working for an unnamed statewide fire department, and we knew about this place only loosely. It was in our what we refer to as our response area. So it was our responsibility if something were to happen
As a state, but not as a district. So
sure,
it was private compound.
it was private, but
it fell under your jurisdiction
right.
as someone who had to take care of it.
Right. So we were granted we courted them to have a tour of this place under the pretenses that we were going to be inspecting their protection systems or whatever.
Well, like you
Fire
said,
suppression
pretenses.
systems,
Yeah, and it was literally just so we could get
wanted
eyes
to
on
check
the
it
place.
out.
Fire suppression systems, so you can say it that way.
Right. And you can see it from the roadway. You can look up to it, and it's a large compound. And one of the fascinating things about the article that I referenced earlier is that there's several drone flybys of the property, and it's really interesting. It's sort of nondescript, but if you put it in the context of where we live, where it's not like we're in Beverly Hills where there's huge compounds, rich homes. This is an area that's rural.
Yeah.
You know,
houses,
granted there's
things,
some money there, but it's certainly nothing like
It's normally
this.
grow houses and stuff
Right.
you'd see out there, and
Well,
like
it's like it's got to be like either
greenhouses.
old money, so it's like older houses for like old.
no,
old school
not
farmers,
quite that
right?
big, probably. But
Or
this
is it
mostly
newer? I'm not
grow
sure how
houses
old
and stuff.
Petrolia is though.
It's pretty
Old.
old. It's old.
Hella old.
I mean,
The cemetery is almost as old as one next door to the house.
yeah, and actually that's really interesting because if you go there still to this day, and you walk around that cemetery, that's a whole nother trip. But
Yeah.
you look and there's a ton of from the flu pandemic in the late 18s.
However,
There was,
whatever
in
that
there. There was a
flu
bad flu
pandemic.
pandemic hit
That's
us.
an irony that we're talking
Before
about that
the
flu.
Americans.
That flu pandemic
we're
is
having
mentioned when we're
another
having one currently as
We're
well.
having another one.
How weird.
Well, I mean, it
Yeah.
is really interesting because there's like a bunch of like headstones for kids. That's always
Yeah.
really interesting.
Mm,
But so, anyways, I was working out in the valley, and we were out there during the summer. Wonderful, beautiful place. If you're ever coming through California, it's a beautiful place to.
Gorgeous.
It's an absolute wonderful area. So we arranged this tour, and at the time I was certainly. Oh, there you go. See, every time, man. Right when I go to do it. Come on, man. Is this a metaphor?
Cheer your cigar.
I'm gonna while we're having this intermission, I'm gonna address chat real quick.
Hey, chat. Love you.
Chat is and M in chat says, "Who is this guy making sense? No one on the show ever makes sense."
Thanks,
then-
Mom.
and then
Love you
Bridget-
too.
Bridget knew exactly who she was talking about. You know what? We make sense. We just never make
There you
sense
go.
about what we're talking about.
1918.
Okay?
Excellent.
We move past that onto other things.
Just
Okay.
like this.
Not
So we get this tour, and they broke it into several groups of us that went there, and we show up, and this tour was it was really legit. Thank you, and it was very we all show up, and they had flown a woman up from their headquarters in Beverly Hills to give us this tour. Because here's the whole thing about this compound is that it's not directly affiliated.
Haunted lighter.
Swear to God, you try and have one serious fucking conversation,
Can't do it in the
and
show.
it's all.
You can't.
So you
All right,
gotta watch
so-
the show for real.
Have you ever watched our show?
Serious
Son of a
conversations are
bitch.
broken immediately by other things,
Mhm.
like bullshit.
Can't be polite. It fucks everything up.
So we get up there, and it's like a big gate. And you got a code and all this other shit.
Mhm.
So we arrive, and the way that the compound is set up, it's you know, there's caretakers on the property, and so they live on the property all the time. But it's just two people, and this was easily a decade plus ago, you know, and I'm sure that it's somewhat.
Come on, man. We're not that old.
I mean,
Son of a bitch.
I mean, you are, but you know, hey.
One.
I mean, you know, we went to high school together, which makes it even funnier.
Yeah.
But, the whole time about this place, you arrive and there's a caretaker home, a guest home, and then a large palatial main house. And we show up and immediately, you know, we start interacting with this woman who's giving us the tour, and you could just tell that this was going to be a very, you know, crafted experience. They were
set up.
They were
Scripted and ready to go.
correct, and they were, you know, even the most basic questions. They knew we were just a bunch of shithead firemen. You know what I mean? They already knew that we were going to make the same bullshit jokes. Oh, has Tom Cruise ever been here? And blah, 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 blah. For 90% of us, yes, that's exactly what it was. It was anything but serious until we started to get a little bit deeper into the experience, and you could tell just how crazy this place is. But so this compound is devoted to to preserving the words and the teachings of LRH, right? So this is separate from the church. So there's no church activities that happen on
It's
this.
just specifically for whatever he wrote.
Correct. It's
Correct. So we're gonna start using it on the show.
And
Correct. You're not just right. You're correct.
And so you start walking. You know, they gave us you know, a tour of that main house and all this stuff. And this was before we even got up to the archive site itself, which of course we never got to go into.
There's an archive site?
There's an archive site.
Could you see it from the distance? Was it like a palace? Like a tomb or something? Or
I mean, it's really interesting. The picture of it is super fucking fascinating. So they hollowed out the hillside. I don't even know if
Holy
you can fucking
shit.
see that shit.
No, we can always post it later.
Yeah. So the way that the compound is set up, there's the houses, and then you go up this long driveway, and then on the top of the hill is the archive site or whatever. But so as we started to walk around and it started to be a little less of the oh looky loo kind of like shit, it ended up being more fast. At least on my part, you can start picking apart the stuff that, you know, she's talking about. So one of the interesting things is that this is a separate wing. It's one of the most secretive portions of the Scientology, you know, things. Is this separate entity that is the preservation wing of Scientology and devoted strictly to the preservation of, you know, of LRH's stuff, and it's everything that he ever wrote. So including Dianetics, including all of his science fiction, because of course this is holy scripture, you know, as holy as any scripture can be, written by a man or anybody else that's human.
I mean,
so
I've read some Stephen King stuff that's pretty on par.
Hey, people people believe H.P. Lovecraft actually wrote real things.
Hey, I tell you what, right now, dude.
You know what? Cthulhu's
Ender's Game, way better.
Cthulhu's real. Don't piss off the random gods that'll torment and kill you constantly. I don't get that one.
The Elder Gods.
Yeah, I don't like cops.
I saw a cabin in the woods.
You know what? Cthulhu is not an elder god. He's a priest. God damn it.
So
anyways,
back to what we were saying.
So anyways, I mean, you know, so we're taking this tour, and before I get too much further into it, we're touring the main house, and this will come a little bit further on in the story, but we're touring this main house, and you walk in this house, and it's like a James Bond villain lair. You know, it's marble, everything. It's huge, palatial house. It overlooks 7 Mile Beach. It's just amazing views and everything like that. And as we're walking around, you know, they kind of just, you know, let us walk around the main house. And I'm walking around, and I walk into this room, and I see it's a pack of cigarettes, a set of slippers, and a robe, right? And I walk back out into the room where the chick who was giving us the tour, and I go, "Is anybody staying here?" And she's like, "Oh no, this is a house for when the statesmen or what I don't know what the fuck they call each other.
Yeah, I'm not sure what
the important fucking people
probably
come and stay."
spinach.
So I basically was like, whatever, like no big deal, just skipped over it. And it was only until I saw that documentary, Going Clear, that it comes into play a little bit more. So we spend our time, our early morning, afternoon in the house, and we're walking around and we're looking at their, sprinklers and doing all the basic, shit.
Taking your time
Right.
to check it out,
Right.
pretending like you have
Pretending
more
like
to
we give
do.
a flying
I
fuck.
have a real question for you.
Yeah.
Did at any point, like throughout this, you said your attitudes kind of changed? Did you guys start getting like eerie feelings, like maybe you shouldn't have done this, maybe you shouldn't be here?
No. Because if one thing you can say about them is that they're very slick, and they're polished, right? Everything is there's no accident about what they say or what they do.
They are covered in astrodied.
They are fucking. Everything is pre thought out. Like I said, every question we had, there was already an answer. You could tell it was very scripted. But so we get further into the tour, and they're talking to us about because it's really fascinating, right? Like, so one of the most interesting things about the Dianetics thing is that LRH took, studied all these religions and then took pieces and parts of it and put it all together, right? Which makes a lot of sense, right? Like,
Yeah, it really does.
some could say that religion is a mode of control, and if you take all the most effective ways of controlling somebody and you put it all together, it's pretty perfect. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the other thing that's really interesting is that when you first become a part of, when you're first becoming a part of it, there's this whole regime of vitamin taking, and then you sauna and all this stuff. And so this gets into what they did for us, and this is when I thought it was a bit creepy.
What they did for you?
What they did for us.
We have some vitamin B12 for you.
For sure.
Eat this fish oil.
So we get up.
Eat all the fish oil.
We get up to the main archive, and that place is huge. And we come up around this big corner, and we see these huge LPG tanks and fuel tanks.
Really?
Right? And this comes out a little bit more in the conversation. And we have lunch, and it's like, okay, it's cool. And then they sit down, and we watch this video after lunch. And this video is about.
Did they feed you lunch, or did you guys have lunch already?
No. They catered this whole thing.
And then
Okay,
they
so let me
showed
get
you a
straight.
video.
Let
So
me-
they're
hold
just
on.
trying to straight up indoctrinate the
Yeah.
firefighters.
Let me
I
ask
call
a
it the
question.
Holy shit!
Let me ask
Call
a
it the
question.
conversion, man.
Did no one in the fire department teach you stranger danger when
Oh,
dealing
they
with a
did.
cult?
That's why he's not stranger dangered right now.
When dealing with a cult, did anyone say to you, "Don't eat what they hand you"? They're cults.
Do
Well,
not
we
give
did.
a
We
lie.
did.
Have you ever really passed up a free lunch?
Yes.
I doubt
On
that.
more than
Oh!
All right.
Boy's
then.
on fire. Oh!
I'll hug you later.
All right, you win this round.
So, anyways, we have this lunch. It's bullshit. It's cold cuts and bullshit. But they did this whole thing for us, and they did
bullshit.
They did
Yeah, I
two.
know.
They did two separate tours
Wasn't up to the
for a
US
whole
standard.
group of us, and we're sitting there, and then they have us. They put on this video for us, and this whole video is about how Tom Cruise started a clinic in Lower Manhattan after 9/11, and it was set up, and he started it for the first responders. And there's something, if you do any research, it's a whole nother thing about the first responder syndrome of anybody that was ever involved in the cleanup or anything involved in the recovery after
They
the
have a
collapse
whole
of the-
different brainwash for guys that have actually busted their ass and
Oh
tried
my
to save
god!
people.
And these are guys that
Fucking
can't.
insane.
These are guys that can't get out of bed because they, their lungs are full of crazy shit from whatever the hell was in the building. So,
Full
anyways,
of New York, which wow.
right.
I
And
don't
the
mind
crazy
full of
thing,
New York.
the crazy thing was, this is still at a time when that wasn't as prevalent in terms of common knowledge as it is now, right? Like,
Yeah, it was early on.
you can do really basic research about that stuff, and it's now really common. So anyways, Tom Cruise sets up this whole clinic, and he fucking, and this whole video is all these testimonials from these from these firefighters, and they go in and they take these vitamins, and then they go and they do this sauna regime, right? And this was provided as a service for these guys, right? It wasn't necessarily, you know, because nothing that they do is like an overt tactic to get you in.
But you guys are just there for lunch.
We were just there for lunch. I didn't get to take a sauna. Unfortunately, I would have happily fucking gotten into that, right?
Yeah, some girls will massage my back. I'm down too, bro. I might sign up for a minute.
I know, right? Can I just sign up for like a month or two?
Can I do a trial basis?
And so these guys are on the video, and they're talking about how they're sweating out colors and all this shit, right? Because if you do any research on this stuff, a lot of the toxins that are in our bodies are stored in our fat cells. Yes. And when you do things like sauna, you release a lot of that stuff. So anyways, they show us this whole fucking video, and that's when I was like, all right, these guys are trying to convert us, you know what I mean? And then after the video, then we go upstairs into their presentation room, and that's when they started talking about the techniques that they used, and then they start talking about the actual archival techniques that they use, which was very fascinating in terms of the technology that they used to, solid gold records, record players that have 3 moving parts. They,
sounds like a very inefficient record player.
It's like conk.
Conk.
And they had ex-NASA engineers that worked on, on the satellite that got sent out with the record on, and all this stuff, and it was like, whoa, man, this is kind of a trip. And so the afternoon keeps going on, and then they bring us down to, and then they started explaining sort of what they do with the auditors and all this stuff. And so I had the opportunity, they gave us an opportunity to go over
Did you do a thetan count thing
that little
see
machine.
How many thetans you had or whatever?
Trip out, dude. No, not that. It's so during the auditing.
I'm not sure what the auditing is.
So the auditing process is they have this machine and it's connected.
It's like a metal detector thing.
And you hold these 2 things, and it's up to like a little meter.
Just like in South Park, guys.
Just watch the episode.
But no,
it's
but
gonna
really
explain all of that. And I'd never seen that shit. And
it hadn't happened yet.
And I didn't know anything about it. This is all a time when a lot of that stuff was not blasted over, social media. It wasn't on A&E. It wasn't on all,
I think this was actually before the South Park episode, is what you're saying.
Totally,
right?
totally. None of this shit, and to us it was like very, now you can just turn on the television and see all these things. So that's why I don't feel so weird talking about it. But so they did this little mock thing where they sat down and one of the guys held the canisters, and the whole process is that it's supposed to be like an intention meter, right? So like you sit there and you're holding the fucking cans, and they're asking you questions, and the guy reaches over and he pinches you, right? And the meter goes.
He pinches you?
Yeah, he literally pinches you. He goes, I'm gonna fucking pinch you, and then he reaches over and he pinches you, and the meter goes. And then he looks at you and he reaches over, but he doesn't actually pinch you. He just says, I'm gonna pinch you, right? And the meter goes a little bit less, right? And then he like goes, I'm gonna pinch you, but doesn't move towards you, and then the meter goes a little less, and then finally he just looks at you like, oh, pinch you, but he doesn't say anything, and the meter just goes like this, right?
See, I would have said the first time I'm gonna pinch you, I would have just hit him in the face. I'm happy. Here's my elbow, bitch.
Totally.
I'm old school. I'm sorry.
Totally.
So, did you actually go through the whole process?
Well, I mean,
a couple of guys on your fire crew, or what?
Yeah, well, I mean, we were all standing in the room, and they were explaining that stuff, and that's when it was really interesting, because then they started to, hand out literature. Then they started to talk about the actual, Scientology religion, which was really interesting because it was a distraction from what the purpose of this compound is. So really, besides the fact that the compound is only there to preserve the words of L. Ron Hubbard, it's also used for post-production of all of their like propaganda and stuff like that.
So it's like a filming studio?
Yeah. Editing based, not filming studios, just to be clear.
Oh my god, really?
So that's where they go, they retreat to there, and then they finish a lot of their movies up there, right?
What do you think they charge me to touch up my... I'm so low on thetans. I had like 2 thetans. Or is that good? Is that bad or good?
I don't know. Clue.
Have a thetan.
You're feetless.
The Thielen
So-
video. Vanishing Gates.
So
Anyway.
one of the fascinating things was is that they kept, the chick would really try and and distract the conversation, and I kept asking, I go, so tell me more about this, tell me more about this place. Why is it that this place is here? And that's when she touched on a little bit of the ideas of why they make them in such remote places. So the fascinating thing about these archives is there's at least one on every continent, and the whole idea being that after the end of days,
In case something happens, there's always a record
right,
left behind.
they depend, or they trust in the ingenuity of man after the end of days, when all society has receded into the cockroaches, that humans would then find this archive. They would open the archive and they would study the words of LRH, and it would open the door to a utopian society based on the teachings and the principles of L. Ron Hubbard.
Dude,
That's the whole reason why
that
these
reminds
archives.
me of that Mormon thing they have on the 101. You know that the cavern they have caved out with all the because they pray for their dead.
Yeah.
There's that whole cavern of people that are dead there, and they have like the whole archive of people that are gone.
Well, if the world doesn't end, these people are gonna be really fucking sad.
Well, and that's,
Well, the world's
almost
gonna
kinda scary.
end.
It's almost kind of scary just thinking about it. If it did end and that was what new age
Planet of the
life.
Apes shit.
That's actually a really scary thing to think
You
about.
don't know what they would do.
You
It's
just
like-
So
So,
when I asked the lady, I go, how do you expect primitive man with primitive tools to get into this,
probably
vacuum
no knowledge
sealed,
of English.
right.
archive? And she just
because they're not primitive anymore, according to L. Ron Hubbard. Someone will wake up with the right amount of thetans. And well, no, think about it though. They'll have the right amount of fucking what's the Jedi thing?
yeah. And that's
Anakin
what she said.
Skywalker will wake up.
She goes, we trust in the ingenuity of man to overcome the challenge and lead them to the teachings of L. Ron Hubbard, right? This was like a scripted fucking thing that they were
It's
saying.
kind of like a sword
That
and
is all
stone type
fake.
of thing.
Oh, dude, it
So-
was like...
So here's what I garnered from this story essentially
All right,
was
yeah.
the whole purpose you were going in there for was to check it out, but they
For a fire,
they
make
weren't-
sure it wouldn't burn
hold on,
down.
they
'cause
weren't
it had
in on
yellow.
this, but it's obvious they knew what the fuck was happening because not only did they take you away from your primary to check the fire suppression systems, they took you away from your primary thing. They convinced you to listen to a bunch of bullshit stories, and then they showed you the fake way they test people because that's not the real way. I can 100% guarantee you that's not how they test people. You would just have to basically. I think what I think about their first test is 'cause I thought about it. Was I think what the first test essentially is to see whether or not you're willing to buy the bullshit.
Right.
And if you're willing to buy it and you're willing and you know it's bullshit, but you're willing to go forward with it, that's how you raise. But if you're stupid and you go with it, but you join the religion, then you stay on the bottom ranks. So essentially, you have to be smart enough to get past it to know that you need to move on. And that's the only way to raise up. There's no such thing as thetans, probably. It's just a matter of they test people based on what their knowledge, their
Jack,
external
you talk
knowledge.
super fast.
Yeah.
You're right. You talk super fast.
Sorry.
I'm thinking what's going to happen is the mitochondrians are going to come up.
Don't ever say metachlorians again. Ever. Say
Oh, I said
metachlorians
mitochondrians?
again.
Mitochondriacs.
Mitochondrians.
Chat said metachlorians. Damn it, Bridget.
Yes, Bridget! We're on the same page. No, so, yeah.
Never again.
Basically, so these guys are going in as a fire crew to check stuff out, make sure things are going to work right, and it turns into an indoctrination ritual,
Right.
which sounds pretty
So if
legit.
if you can think about it this way, I think it's a classic, example of their technique.
Yeah.
So if one of those people that were on that tour were receptive, right, then it was all worth it, right? Because
yeah.
You
if
get
you
one.
can if you could get one, then you can get two, and
Right.
if you can get two, then you can get
Get
three, and
four.
then that's how you provide the bottom of the pyramid, and you make the next people feel like they're more informed, and then you just keep building on that. I mean,
I think with Scientology it's a little different though because
Well-
it's so based on money. Like,
right.
Hold on.
I
but
think that they only have to get one, and
To
then
be
that
honest,
one
I don't
person
think
tells
that's
his
true.
family.
Here's the thing what I think it is, essentially. It's just what he was saying right there.
Okay.
Okay, so broadcasting out that psychology is crazy, that Scientology is nuts. That's crazy, that all this thing is nuts. But people are going to listen to the story. They're going to dig into it. And the trick is all they got to do is catch the individual person. Just every person. They're going to catch, like casting a net out in the ocean trying to catch, fish. Trying to catch a school tuna. You're going to catch a shit ton. And people don't realize that. They're going to catch a crap ton of people. Out of 1 million people, they may only catch a few hundred, but there's billions of people. They're going to catch
Well, I mean,
a fuck ton of
I think
people.
it's more in depth than that, Josh. I think, Jack, it's more personal than that.
Why
well,
would you call me such things?
I think that's what's really funny to me about this is that in this day and age where so much of the information is now exposed about Scientology, think about the fact that like there's 1 or 2 people that are watching Leah Remini's show and they're interested, but they're not interested to debunk it. They're interested to see if it's true.
Yeah.
And
Dude,
then they get into it,
exactly.
and they're like, and then they're like, "Holy shit, man!" And I mean, that's where we start talking about
Dude,
how religions
motherfuckers
are a mode of
are
control.
still eating Tide Pods.
Right,
Knowing
exactly.
it's dangerous.
Right.
That's my point. People are still eating fucking Tide Pods.
Right.
We know it's bad.
Stop eating
Don't
Tide Pods.
fucking don't do that. Don't eat Tide Pods.
Don't eat Tide Pods.
You can dab them.
Oh
We've
my
used
God.
our
Okay, so
guests on the show.
Yeah.
Gates, not necessarily. Don't dab Tide
I
Pods.
watched a video where someone dabbed a Tide Pod. That was hilarious.
No, he
Anyways.
vaped it. Look, guys, what I was trying to say is, don't. Don't.
So-
Look at Lee Remini. Tom Cruise is leaving Scientology from what I've
See,
heard.
I didn't know that. That's pretty fucking interesting.
Well, it's tabloids, so
You
it's
don't
probably
leave.
honest.
You never leave. And that was, I think, a whole nother thing.
Lee
right? Is
Remini
that-
left.
Well, yeah.
She's not the only one. Okay, so David Miscavige, the guy that runs Scientology right now, his dad came out against it.
Right.
David Miscavige's dad came, because Shelley Miscavige is gone. She's vanished.
Like the Gates.
So
That was
only
pretty
if
funny.
we're lucky.
That
That
was
was
pretty
good.
funny.
That was legit, bro. Why are you?
Funny.
Don't do
I
speak.
don't know.
Hey,
So-
my guns are loaded. Don't
about
try
you
to
just don't do
assassinate me. I'm
anything?
faster than you. That's all I'm saying, guys.
Damn it, man.
Jack's not, though.
Look,
Jack's
people have
not.
been near assassinated over leaving Scientology. David Miscavige's dad is out and open about how bad Scientology's become. No, he said become because back in the day, to him, it wasn't such a big deal. But when his son, David, took over, it became this monstrous, murderous affair. And I don't know David Miscavige, but I know his wife is missing. And, hey, Dave.
Send me some money and I'll shut up.
No. Hey,
Here's the
Dave.
thing, though.
No, I don't
What I
know.
would
Let,
add- what I
let
would
me
say
do
on
this
this-
for real. I'm going to try to break it down for him for real. Hey, Dave. If you killed your wife, turn yourself in.
Just come clean. It's not worth it.
Just do it, man.
Hey, you know what, dude?
come
Dave, you're going to die. You're not going to vaporize into thetans.
You might. You never know.
You're probably going to burn in hell.
That'd be a good vape juice.
Oh,
name,
no, right,
For
bro.
sure.
Dave burns in hell. Oh, man. That'd be good. No, the fact is, now maybe your wife is sick and you have her in a hospital somewhere. Let people know. Even the Pope lets people know when he...
Jesus Christ, dude. Okay, wait. Okay, so I will get back to that when I was in the main house and I saw the pack of cigarettes, right?
Yeah.
And I saw the slippers. So that tied into when I was watching shit a decade and a half later, and a decade. And I know,
Yeah,
it's like,
I'm glad you cut it half out.
Generous. Thank
Thank you for cutting it half out, bro. I'm feeling kind of old.
And so I'm watching that HBO documentary, which is really, really stellar. It's really
I
good.
haven't watched any of them.
It's really good. And they're talking about how in every Scientology owned building, there's one room devoted and saved for the return of LRH because he's gonna come back. And I thought about that later on, about the fact that I was in a room that was, nobody gets to see that shit. Right?
Did you light a cigarette?
I had no fucking idea. I
Oh,
literally,
you should have. You should have
Okay.
smoked
So
a
if I would
cigarette.
know that now, I would have.
If I was in Scientology,
Right?
Yeah.
hold on.
All
if I
right,
was
but
in
no. Hold on. Here's the point, though.
Well, my point is that that's what was, and it only became apparent to me much later on how interesting and exclusive that really was. That it's such an insulated, protected community and society for a reason.
Yeah.
You don't control people by being open. You know, you don't control people by
shut it
allowing
off.
everybody to know everything. And so, upon years of reflection after this, and this is just one of my favorite drinking stories, and I love to tell this story to anybody who's out drinking with me, and it gets a little bit tighter when I'm not doing something like this.
So now you guys are here on the show,
right? And so that was something that really rang true for me much later on after figuring that out, is just how closed that culture and that community really is, and how interesting it was that we were afforded this opportunity, and the only way that they allowed us to do that was under the guise of saying
the only reason they did
we might
was they
get
thought
a few
they
of
would
these
get
guys.
you.
We might get a few of these guys, and you know, you could tell the dumb ones in the group because they sent several of these guys home with literature. You know,
You had some dumb guys in your
dude,
group.
absolutely. And there was one
Well,
guy.
maybe you shouldn't say that.
No. One of them was the fucking captain. He was a fucking idiot. He was like, you walk into the barracks and he's like sitting there
Captain Durr.
he's like, this shit might be true, man. And I'm like, you're a fucking
No
idiot. You're a fucking
I
idiot.
want a Dianetic
You know
all
what?
over
So-
my bed.
So
right
let me say
now.
this right now. Like my opinion of okay, so I have an opinion of religion and Scientology. Let me break
I'm
it down
sure
for you
you
real
do.
quick. You are a finite creature that is going to fucking die.
Word.
You are not a god. You're never going to become a god. You're never
True.
going to be immortal.
True.
This shit doesn't matter. You live a short period of time on Earth. Why to dedicate yourself to something that's literally just going to take from you and never give back? It's pointless.
I mean, ish.
The thing is, that's my theory about like even
I
the
don't
idea
totally agree
of
with
the Illuminati. Here's the
Oh,
thing:
God.
people need to realize is that these cults,
That is actually a show
these
we haven't
people,
I know.
we're about. I know we're about to finish, but the thing is
I got another story about that one too.
done.
so here's the
You'll
thing
have
that
to
I
come
think about like the leadership
Oh,
of
you
the
do it right
Illuminati,
now.
the leadership of
I guess you gotta go.
Scientology.
Okay, go
You
ahead.
gotta
The
go?
realization
Yeah.
here
Gotta
is that
Yeah,
what
that's
makes
right.
them powerful, what makes them
Put-
control
put-
people,
put-
is essentially the ideal that they somehow have knowledge or power or something above you. They're human. They're going to die. People think that what's that one rich dude that everybody hates from like Poland or whatever? Fucking Soros, George Soros. Everybody hates this guy because they
You
think
mean the Nazi?
Hold on.
Dude,
But here's the thing, okay? So the thing is, people think that he's like a big mastermind. He's conspiring to do something. He is going to die. He is not super. He's not amazing. He's not a genius. He is a human with
Why
limited
is this
knowledge.
a conversation
of
we're
what-
having with Scientology?
Well, I'm trying to point out something about Scientology. He's a limited human. People in the leadership of Scientology, they're not special. They don't have anything different from you that you couldn't learn
I
yourself.
don't know, dude.
Correct.
I dare you to get in a race car race with Tom Cruise.
I would just blow out his tires and win the race by him
Just
crashing.
a race
That's
at all. Just a crash
what, though?
race. He'll destroy
Let me put it to you like this.
That man can race.
Anyone in this room could get in a fist fight with anybody who's a super powerful genius in Scientology who's strong, and they could still kick their fucking ass one-on-one. That is the point, is that it doesn't matter how intelligent you say you are, it's the fact that there are more intelligent people in this world than in Scientology, than in any of those religions or any of those beliefs. There's someone more intelligent than them somewhere that's not involved. But they're not seeking to be gods amongst religion. And that's my point, is that you could be just as intelligent or more intelligent than these people, but they've taught other people that they're super intelligent or super amazing. They're not. They don't have a plan. They don't know what they're doing. They're trying to strive for mortality, but they're never going to reach it.
I think they have a plan.
They're
where they
Icarus.
wouldn't be able to
They,
convince people.
these people are Icarus. They're going
Rolling
to
the
jump
ball
for
up
this.
the
They're
hill
going to
and
try to
someone
get to the
else.
sun, but it's going to fall apart and they're going to dive down. Okay, that's all that's going to happen. There is no reason to follow these nut jobs. That's all I have to say. They're never going to amount to anything or bring us anything
that's all you
important.
had
That was
to
a
say.
lot more than
All you had to
That's my
say.
finalization.
Is that not the basis of all religion, right? I mean, you tell people that you have the gift that they don't.
Yeah.
You could have it, but I'm the one that's here to show you and tell you what that gift
you
is.
only measure reality when it comes to a religious or deep spiritual belief by what unites people and what causes danger to yourself and peace. That's
So-
it. Look at Gandhi. He didn't want to fight anybody
Well, let me
else.
give you something actually there's to think about here. It's one of the things that's actually it's current. And it's with, I think it was with Reagan, and it was with Vladimir Putin standing an inch from Ronald Reagan, I believe, right?
6 inches, yeah.
Yeah, 6 inches from Ronald Reagan. These men were at one point, or currently, one of them is one of the most powerful people in the world, and they stood 6 inches from each other, and no one even realized it. That is the difference between you and someone else. There
If you
is
don't
none.
think for 5 seconds someone didn't have a and beat it down on Vladimir Putin when he was.
Oh, I
standing
imagine they
Ronald
knew,
Reagan,
but
you're
they
on
didn't.
Crack cocaine.
But that's my point. Is the thing is the majority of people didn't notice because there's no real difference between human beings. We are all roughly the same thing.
Oh, correct.
It's just a matter of
Oh,
whether
we
or
are.
not
We
you
are
sought the knowledge.
same thing, roughly or not. We are the same thing.
Yeah,
Right.
It's
We're
just some
just
people.
dumb.
Every person has their own niche. Every
We're
person has
dumb
their
and-
own niche. Some people are really charismatic and can convince you of anything.
The trick
And
is
that's
to be
the
dumb in the
difference.
right way.
And that, that is really, I mean, that is something that's really fascinating. Is you take somebody like LRH, and
Yeah.
he, we can draw people around our sphere.
Yeah.
And if you're lucky, they're sheep, and they just listen to whatever the fuck you say.
Yeah.
And that's how you build. That's how you build the flock, right? You get the people that are too stupid to ask,
Yeah.
why the fuck? What does this mean? If you can dazzle them by shit and you can control them by the carrot, which is exactly how Scientology works, which is that you dangle a carrot in front of them, but then they started to figure out after LRH went away was that you had to have so many levels to keep them going, or they're just going to dissipate.
Well, you find super passionate people that aren't the most intelligent
Yeah.
on the street. I don't mean intelligent in the wrong way, but I mean the most intelligent in the street. Like, they are not street smart. They're very intelligent or skillful.
Easily twisted.
Look at Tom Cruise. He's a very intelligent, skillful person. John Travolta, the guy's he's a pilot. I can't fly a fucking plane, can you?
No.
I can't land.
I mean, I could. I could if I needed to.
I can crash a plane.
I could
Okay,
Google it. But
YouTube
the fact
video.
is, look, the fact is, you take intelligent people with passions that match up to what you need,
Right.
and that's what you find. And that's what people do when they are psychopaths. They find someone
Right.
that will
Sure.
sycophants.
Right.
They allure to their sensitivities.
Well, one of the
Psychology
problems
is a real thing.
Well, one of the things is you can learn in you learn pretty early on in psychology is that all humans. A lot of people talk about how they don't want the church. They don't want that. Well, every human wants someone to guide them mostly. For the most part, not all. I would hazard the guess of 97% of humanity wants someone there to guide them in some way.
I mean,
So they will always fall into some sort of a thing to guide them.
I mean, think about this. Okay, so what really separates us from the animals, right? It's thumbs and the fact that we have been able to ask the question why. Why? That was the
We
most.
are different than animals.
That was
It's
the
a
most
fact.
treacherous gift given to us is the notion that we ask why.
We
The
are
deer doesn't
different.
go. The deer doesn't ask why the fuck do I take a shit? Why the fuck do I look for something to eat? But we, of course, are saying why are we here?
It's like the
Why
difference
are we
between-
here?
Okay,
and,
so
if I can sell
yes.
you on the notion that there's an answer to the why, then you control everybody.
It's like the
You
difference
control
between cats and
everything.
dogs. So look at this: the difference between cats and dogs. You have a dog in your house, okay, and you die. The dog will wait until it's
Forever.
almost starving to death
Forever.
before it eats your body. The cat will wait 2 or 3 hours before it starts eating you after you die.
Or just
Short story.
bounce
Cats
out,
suck.
right?
Well, I mean,
Or
no, I'm
bounce
just
out.
saying, like,
Cats
there's a
suck.
big difference between humans and everything else.
Yeah.
We are a different creature.
We
It's
are
a
different
fact.
creature.
Well, yeah, I mean, but I guess that kind of leads to my point.
Okay, so the
is one
term
of the things I was
cannibal
going to say.
doesn't just mean to eat your own
There was
species.
something you point out about,
to eat man.
intellectual people, intelligent people.
I gotta get out of here.
Oh,
You know?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Pocket-
Yeah, on that note, I'm gonna get out of here. Joe, pleasure, man.
Pleasure.
Thank you for being
Tamales!
here.
Tamales!
All right, you guys.
So-
have fun.
Don't trip over the wires.
That's,
I
Sorry,
love you.
let's say it.
Sorry, I learned everything from Tom Cruise.
You're a
Tom
beautiful
Cruise!
man. See you next week.
Beautiful. So,
Take care.
one other thing I wanted to point out was it doesn't matter how intelligent someone is. In humanity, a large chunk of humanity, even intellectual people, smart, super intelligent people, a large chunk of people just want to find they can't lead themselves. They have to find something to guide them. And that's why people fall into religion. And I'm not saying all religion is evil and all religion wants to hurt you or anything like that. What I'm saying is it just depends on. So it depends on what you're reading into it, essentially.
You know, these
Like,
people,
how deep?
people are making up the religion because they need guidance there, Jack.
Well, I think that people are making up a religion because they want power. Humans are greedy. And I think people turn to religion because they think it's going to somehow answer their questions. Like, why am I not
Absolutely.
rich? How do I
Why?
find money?
Why?
Or
so you're
what should I
justifying
do?
L. Ron Hubbard?
Well, actually, kind of, yes.
That's-
Because yes, the thing
fine.
is every human has a desire and a drive to do something. If these people go into Scientology and they are used, but they find some kind of happiness in it, then why not let them? Even if it's the dumbest thing on earth and it's obviously against what's good for them.
Okay, what are the
why
kids,
not allow them to be happy?
What about the kids whose parents put them into it?
Okay, well there is that.
As in the guy that runs Scientology right now, David Miscavige, whose dad regrets thoroughly that he put him in there.
Well, there's that thing. But
what about Leah Remini, whose parents put her in there?
I'm talking about people who chose. Okay.
Yeah, but so you're pushing too far.
Choosy.
You're being too open for it. This is a certain situation.
Well, I didn't say it was good. That's what I'm saying. Even if it's not good for them, if people who are in there who chose, who were old enough, who weren't forced into it, if they find some sort of happiness in it, then they should find happiness in it. I mean, then they should keep doing it if it's what makes them happy.
Well, and that's okay. Granted. So like you
Agreed.
You like fucking a sheep. If you're into it,
I am not from
fuck a sheep.
Afghanistan.
I'm just saying.
Whoa! There's no sheep in Afghanistan.
I was like, thanks, man.
You mean Scotland?
No, but I mean, also one of those unique experiences,
Sorry,
right?
goats,
I mean, that's like what we try and say all the time, right? I mean, that's the basic ethos of America is do what makes you happy as long as it doesn't bring harm to somebody else. Sure, I agree with you on the basic premise that if it makes you fulfilled, right? Because there's dozens of religions out there, and the basic premise, the way that they get you, is that they just want everybody to like love each other and all this, ushy gushy shit.
Yeah.
And honestly, I don't have a big problem with that. I'm sure you don't have a big problem with that. Just don't come over into my yard and try and tell me that your way is better than anybody else, right? I mean, that's kind of what I'm getting from that, like live and let live kind of thing.
That's always
Until
been
it
my
hurts
opinion about
somebody
life.
else, and that's when it stops being.
I mean, there's two things that wars are started over. One of them is God, and the other one is between
Usually women.
between some lady.
God and women. That's it. So hey, feminists, get your heart out. That's it. God and women. You call it land all you want. It's really about women.
I'll give you my number. Don't worry about it.
So,
yeah.
I agree completely. There's no reason that someone should show. If like, for instance, one thing a favorite story from when we were younger. I was sitting on my couch. I was like 13 years old. I think I was 13 or 14. We were still living in our old house. I might have been 12. I might have been.
No, I mean right now. 12.
Oh.
Is
And
this your first boy-girl thing?
so no.
Okay.
So
it's fine.
someone comes and knocks on our door, and I'm sitting there, and I open it. I think my mom was behind me, and she talks to me. It's two Mormons. And this is the third time they've been around the house. They wouldn't stop coming around. We kept saying, no, please don't come back.
Is that the one that tried to punch me?
Yes!
Oh.
And then my brother, who had a difference of opinion, decided to talk to them.
Yeah, I almost got punched.
He decided to speak with them. And
I was polite.
he was politely speaking with
And
them
I had
about
left.
religion. And as he has his, as I don't think Jay hides his religious beliefs.
I'm not like that worried about it. Like it's
Back in the past.
You know what? The fact is, I asked him some questions. And the guy
You asked
tried to
them
punch
tough
me.
questions,
I
and
didn't
they got
ask him
upset.
tough questions. It was just I was rude. I should have just been nice
Well,
and gave him coffee.
Any question to Mormons is pretty tough.
That's not nice. No, that's rude. We don't agree
That
with
is a
that
joke,
statement.
just like the Afghanistan thing. It's a joke. Don't take it seriously. I don't believe these things.
Oh Jesus.
Oh. Could
So,
I make fun of
backtrack.
L. Hubbard a little bit?
Backtrack.
Doesn't mean Afghanistan's not a shithole. Anyways.
Some people say the same about Rio Del.
It is.
Well, everyone says the same about Rio Del.
Who doesn't say that?
Guys
though,
in
right?
Afghanistan
Come
are
on.
like, that's a shithole.
It's just a shithole.
I bet you there's people in Afghanistan going, man, fucking
I don't
Rio
want to
Del.
live in Rio Del.
Fucking
Real, no, thank
I
you.
wouldn't live there. You couldn't pay me.
So, I mean, the thing is with Scientology in particular, your story was really fucking interesting. Like, it had me start to stop. That's why, like, as soon as you start talking and we were able to get rolling, I was like, I shut up because I was like, this is a really fucking interesting story.
Wait, you shut up?
Now, the thing I would love to have seen,
I don't think
and
you
if
did.
I was them and I had a sense of humor, I would have just literally had one room where you open it and it's just metal walls with a chair in the center and that's it. Just fucking that. Just so when you open the door, be like, oh, sorry, you're not supposed to go in there. And then close it on you and just see what you guys fucking did. That's all I would do if I was running that place. I'd just have a metal room with a fucking metal chair in the center that's like tacked down, you could tell, and then be like, oh, you're not supposed to go in there. Just to see what your response would be.
Turns out I don't think they have a sense of humor. I think they take it very seriously.
Yeah,
That's true.
No, they probably do
Because
That's
that.
for all the
They're
people who
afraid that
talk
they're
about
gonna
Tom
get-
Cruise.
Yeah, they probably do that,
Afraid
but
they're
they
gonna
would
get taken.
show
What?
that.
Now, I have to ask, what the hell happened when you mentioned Tom Cruise? Did she just kind of chuckle, or was she like
Yeah.
legitimately
Yep.
like, fuck off?
No, it was a mixture of both. It was definitely like
Dude.
a fuck off.
Oh yeah, no.
kind
Tom
of thing.
Cruise is a huge deal for Scientology. Huge deal.
Yeah.
Like a
Well,
fact.
I mean, talk about a lightning rod, a catalyst for for, because their whole thing is branding and getting people to come in, you know what I mean? Like I said, one of the most fascinating things about, the LRH Scientology thing is that the key to your success lies within you, right? And who doesn't want to hear that? Who doesn't want to develop their skills within themselves to accomplish anything that they set their mind to? That's a potent, very potent idea. The place where it goes wrong, the place where it turns is when, is a whole nother thing. I don't even know.
Negativity for Scientology is bad.
Yes.
When a person's negative in Scientology, they freak out.
So are Thetan levels like something that's supposed to be like psychic levels, like if you're psychic in some way or something?
No,
I'm confused.
Like,
literally,
I never understood it. So
literally, it's aliens living
inside of you.
Yeah, it's literally aliens.
Literally, multiple aliens inside of you. No, Tom Cruise is so energetic and happy.
where
That's what makes him such a big deal for Scientology. Listen, it's what makes it so negativity. When you're a negative person, it doesn't work for Scientology. So if you're upset and mopey, it doesn't. Like, I could never be a Scientologist. I am way too Irish for that. I'm way too like, nah, fuck, this life is over.
Yeah.
I'm pissed all the time. Scientology, you have to be happy and up and abound.
Yeah.
That's it. What?
Well, I mean, the whole notion is that if you're not happy and you're not
Your thetans aren't right.
You're not moving the mission, then the whole world's gonna end. It's all based on your. It's all based on you.
It's all based on your checkbook.
The idea of
it's all based on your checkbook. Let's be real.
The aliens thing actually reminds me of something.
Fucking send money to Vanishing Gates at gmail.com.
Yeah, screw them.
We'll
Join our cult.
Way happier.
Apple
We'll make
Pay.
you way happier.
Join the cult of the ass end of the paranormal.
We're not a cult.
So
we will misappropriate
the idea
your
of
money
aliens
in a way
living
better
inside
way.
you reminds me of something I read once about Greek mythology, which is the ideal that Leviathan, Leviathans were destroying the earth, which is essentially demons in Greek mythology, and they were destroying the earth. And what Zeus did was he would lock them away in human souls. So he locked them inside of humans. And so Leviathans. And so essentially it was that you would hear voices in your head. So the idea is that people who were hearing voices in their head in Greek mythology were people who had Leviathans in their soul, and they were whispering, trying to escape. They were trying to drive you insane, so you would either die or do crazy things, because they could never get out. They were trapped inside of you. And that's what that kind of reminds me of, is that essentially they took something from Greek mythology and utilizes the idea of the Leviathans trapped inside the human soul. And that's what it kind of reminded me of, was the idea of Zeus trapping Leviathans in humans in an attempt to stop them from destroying everything. Which is why crazy people happen, according to Greeks, like psychopaths who murder people, or people who've been convinced by Leviathans.
Chemical imbalances.
I was just gonna say, it's not about
brain
mental illness.
damage.
Apparently, according to Greek mythology, it's the whispering of Leviathan in your head, trying to drive you insane.
Keep in mind, the Greeks thought that elephant skulls were the reason for a Cyclops. So
they are.
That was a good.
They
that's a
are.
good one. I love that.
I mean, just tossing that out there, bro.
I was just pointing out the fact that it sounds similar to that.
Guys, we love you so much. Thanks
for
for watching this show about Scientology on Vanishing Gates. As
you're gonna
always,
murder someone, R.E.J.
Yep. If you have some weird, awesome fan art to send about Jack versus Vin Diesel, erotic
probably
fan
include
fiction,
Tom Cruise now.
just email us. Oh, you can include Tom Cruise too. Email us, but do the RE for Jack at vanishinggates@gmail.com.
No one is ever going to email us. You know.
Not
this,
true,
right?
bro. Not true at all.
You can just
I've been
message us on
emailed.
Facebook.
I've
It's
been
cool.
emailed. I've been emailed.
I've been emailed.
I've been emailed.
Not those emails. Thank you, Lord. But hey, guys, thank you again for watching. Thank you, Joe, for joining us.
Thank you,
Yes,
sir.
indeed.
It was a
Our
pleasure.
Thank you, sir.
It's a
freaking
pleasure.
sponsor
Nice
for
to meet you.
Dios. Hey, it's been a great show. We will catch you guys next week. Thank you for watching again. I am Jay for Paco. Thanks for watching Vanishing Gates. And send us your messages.
Check
Don't
out
forget to
DL Sandwiches if
follow.
you live in Humboldt.
Yeah, follow, subscribe, etc., etc. And we'll talk to you guys really soon. Pardon my voice. I'm still going to. My voice is still
Goodbye, everybody.
shot to shit.